everyone. In today's video, I'm going to talk about cutting flowers for an event. So this past week, I was supplying flowers for my nephew and his fiance's engagement party in South Carolina. But the thing is, we were driving to North Carolina first, dropping off some furniture at my daughter's place, and then we would spend the night in North Carolina and then drive down the morning of the engagement party with the flowers. So the flowers would be in the car for 2 hours, and then from here to North Carolina, it's about seven and a half hour drive. And then we stopped for dinner. So anyway, the flowers were in the car for a long time, which if you don't know, if you put flowers in the car and the sun hits them, it can blow them open and cause the petals to fall off and all this stuff. So I was really worried about traveling with the flowers, but fortunately it was overcast, at least on Friday for the long 7.5 hour drive. So things weren't that bad. But I did learn a few lessons. I'm going to just start with my little lessons first. And then I'll put the clips that I filmed last week of me going over the flowers and cutting the flowers and some of the other tasks that I was doing in the garden this week. But first of all, you should, if you didn't know, you should always cut your flowers early in the morning. Is the best time after they've had the night to totally rehydrate. So 6:30 before the sun really hits them, before it really heats up. If you can't cut early in the morning, then in the evening is the second best time to cut. But you never want to be cutting at noon when the flowers are the thirstiest and most prone to wilting and things like that. So I did get up early to cut it, and it took me a lot longer to cut than I thought. I think I was cutting for a good 2.5 hours. I mean, I got distracted with deadheading and all this stuff too, but it did take a little bit longer to cut than I thought. Of course, you do want to cut at an angle, put it in cool water, and as soon as you cut, so you should have a bucket with you so you can put it right in the cool water, and then you want to put it until you travel, you want to put it somewhere cool. So you don't want to necessarily leave it on your front porch or leave it in your garage if your garage is warm. You want to put it in the coolest part of your home. If you have an extra refrigerator and you can put it in the refrigerator, that's a great place to store flowers. I did not have that option. I was just needing to leave them in the house. But that's the best way to harvest flowers. I also use a hydrating solution, the Floralife hydrating solution, and I put that in my water. It just helps the flowers uptake the water a little bit faster. You can use something like Quick Dip also, because the Floralife, I think it's the Floralife 100. I should go look. I'm going to go look right now. Okay, so this is what I have. It's the Floralife Express Clear 100 Hydrating Solution. It's a professional hydrating solution. I will say I was a little disappointed because I ordered it last March, I believe, March 2024, and it's pretty expensive. It's like, over $100 or around $100 for this giant container, and I mean, I'm still like up to here with it. But then when I got it, it expired in 3 months. So the expiration on this says May 2024. So I don't know, maybe it's not even working anymore. But I was a little disappointed about that. But I do have the Quick Dip also. You can buy that on Amazon. And that would be, you just dip individual stems in the Quick Dip for about 2 seconds, and then you put it in your vase or your flowers, and it also kind of opens everything up and allows it to uptake the water a little bit faster. The other thing, and this is something I did wrong, we've had so much rain and we had hail and all this stuff, so I was real worried about having enough flowers to pick. But on Thursday, so we were leaving Friday morning, on Thursday I was going through in the morning And I said, oh my goodness, these flowers are perfect. I should cut them now. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll give it one more day, because if they don't open more, then they might be too closed. And then that afternoon got really warm. The sun came out and it kind of blew everything open. So then now they're too open. So you do want to cut your flowers. Like if they're roses, you want to cut them when the sepals have pulled back, because then it's still going to open. And if you just need it in the next day or two, you want to cut them while they're still open buds, but before they are fully opened. So, just when the buds have started to pull open, because then in a day or two, they're going to be fully open. And I did not do that. So I waited too long. So most everything I cut was fully open, which again, I knew meant was going to be very difficult to travel with for 2 days. But I will say the event was a total success. Yeah, some of the flowers were losing petals over those 2 days, but I had picked more than enough to fill all of the bud vases and the vases that they had for the event, and still had 1 or 2 buckets left. I also brought some filler flowers. The one thing that I found was really nice, my hydrangeas. I had my very first hydrangea blooms, the endless summer, so they were kind of pink hydrangeas. Those did fantastic. I mean, they looked amazing 2 days in the car traveling, and so that was something nice, and something for me to kind of just put back here if I ever have to bring flowers for anything. If I have my hydrangeas blooming, that those are going to be really good to travel with. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and include some clips, and then I will come back and summarize everything. And I just felt a couple of raindrops, so I'm going to cut fast. The key is to cut long, and that's really hard for me to do. My daughter's really good. I have to channel my inner Katie. Like, I could cut this whole thing and get a bunch of blooms off of it, but that was really hard for me to do. Of course, take off the lower leaves. I'll leave some of the upper leaves, but I am going to do a bucket of things to use as filler too. Make sure all these get into the water. Again, the storm is probably going to take everything off. So, might as well cut them. All right, here's my Lady of Shalott. With my
Okay, so I do have earwigs in here. I'm finding, I don't know if I have thrips, but I definitely have earwigs. Ooh, I see them all over. Oh my gosh, this one had 2 of them in here. I don't know if I can cut this one because to take any length in the stem, I'd have to cut these buds off, and it's such a young plant. That's all the new growth. So I'm going to leave that. All right, let's cut some more David Austins. The thing about these really open blooms before a storm is they're not going to survive, and they could break the stem in a place you don't want the stem to be broken because they're really top heavy. So you can see this one can barely hold its neck up. I'm not even going to try and save that one. I'm going to use this one. Any of these that are going to shatter, I'm just going to deadhead. This one's good, but I don't want to cut off the bud. That one I can take. I want to make sure that this keeps some blooms on it if I'm going to cut the sprays. But this one is pretty floppy, and these will get damaged in a hard wind. Okay, so I do see some mites on this one. So I do need to get out here with a miticide, but not today because it's going to rain. Of course, it's better to shake upside down so you don't snap things you don't want to snap. And then these little Felco 310s have a really tiny point. Excuse me. So you can go in there and get out the stems in the middle of a spray or the leaves. Now the one thing about the hybrid teas or floribundos or grandifloras, you know, kind of the offshoots of the hybrid teas, is they don't shatter as much. So even though they're open like the David Austins, they're not going to just shatter. And they will last a couple of days, even if you cut them when they're already open.
Okay, that was the end of my videotaping clips, even though I cut a lot more flowers. Well, not a lot more, but I did continue to cut some flowers, but I was running out of time and realized I needed to finish cutting, take a shower, and we needed to get on the road. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, seeing some of the beautiful flowers that I cut for the engagement party. And again, if you're interested in that video bird feeder, the link to my Amazon store is down in the description box below. As always, I appreciate everyone being here. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.